one another. Do not backbite one another. Does any one of you like to eat the dead flesh of his Muslim brother? Subhanallah. Now I want to market myself in such a manner that I even not prepared to do that haram. May Allah protect us from that, inshallah. We must recognize and endorse their contribution from each other. Recognize it. Because the moment we're not going to do that, I will fall under the bracket of, may Allah protect, Allah khayrun minhu, I'm better than him. That was the connotation of shaitan. And because of that attitude, shaitan became the most cursed creation. So I can never, ever reject other people's contribution. Maybe it can be better than mine. So let us never here strive to coexist in the world of halal certification. That we try to support one another, not to run one another down. And if one makes a mistake or if one is wrong, let us correct it the way Allah wants us to correct it. You know, I always say, the moment as a husband, as a bridegroom, I say, qabiltu nikahaha. What does that mean? It virtually means that I sign a contract by Allah to do what? To look after my wife. Not the way I feel like, but the way Allah wants me to look after her. But that contract, sadly, is never much worried about. So here we find that the moment we have positive contribution from one another, automatically innamal mu'minuna ikhwah. We got a duty towards one another. We got to protect one another. And in turn, we have to look at it in such a manner. If there is a problem, we will try to solve it. And we will be naive to think that there will be never problems. There will always be problems. But the problem is not the problem. The problem is how we handle the problem. And I think that is something that we as an ummah must really sit back and worry about. Because sometimes we do more haram to solve the problem. And instead, what is the end result? We get anything much more sadly haram. Serve and prioritize the ummah at all times. That is what we ought to do. In the world of Allah, as a ummah, we must unite. We have to work together. We must be able to interact with one another positively and happily. The enemies of Islam enjoy themselves if we don't do that. Because they fear, if we are going to be united, we are going to be that force to be reckoned with. Hence we find, I'm sure many of us have studied that in the Parliament of UK, many years back, the ultimate fear is the unity of this ummah. Publicly said in a Congress, in Parliament, by a member of Parliament in UK. They see it. Unfortunately, we don't see it, and we do not practice it. My beloved brothers and sisters, why do I say this? It is simply because working together is an obligation. It's command from Allah. We should be of all kinds be together. We should enter into meaningful and respectful dialogue with one another and follow the examples of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The non-Muslims do not have Quran and Rasulullah. We in turn, we have it. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. And in spite of all this perfection of our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was also instructed, وَشَاوِرُهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, consult them in their affairs. Who is the Nabi? The beloved of Allah. He was also instructed by the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to consult in the Muslim affairs. Brothers and sisters, The Holy Quran is a divine revealed message to humanity, which includes the message of Allah. The Quran is a book intended to provide us with a blueprint for survival against all problems and challenges, albeit differences of opinions and culture. This Ummatun Wahidah, I repeat, this Ummatun Wahidah, the one Ummah, this must be the concept to be adopted around the world. And we must not allow ourselves to continue be divided by man-made geographical boundaries. We must not allow ourselves to do that. This Ummatul Wahidah concept was adopted by the Muslims at the start of this holy journey al-Islam. It was not adopted because it sounded nice. It was adopted because it was a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. We must understand that today there is smear campaign against us as Muslims. In fact, the West has developed a strategy where they use Muslims against Muslims. They sit back and they look to their entertainment. We must be aware of this. Our strength, our power lies in working together, lies in unity, and the Muslim worldwide working together for a common goal can only be victory to this Ummah of Muhammad salawatullahi alayhi. Are we the Ummah that we ought to be? Are we watchful? Let us be the global Ummah that Allah wants us to be, and be concerned of one another. And inshallah, once we tie our camel and put our trust in Allah, then we can expect success and victory from the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Nice presentation from GIDA. This is the last presentation from the body. 10 minutes, please.
Shouldn't I get more time? I travelled the longest. I have only 10 minutes, so I'll have to rush through it.
Welcome.
Currently, the halal global market is recognised to be worth $3 trillion, and it is recognised by the Oxford University because they have a project about developing Islamic marketing. But this $3 trillion only covers food and finance, whereas halal covers our entire lifestyle. So the Muslim population is expected to reach a third of the global population by 2020, which is going to be about 3 billion people. So it is a market that is underserved. So what are some of the problems with this industry? We have fragmented halal certification systems, as we've heard all day. And Western firms use halal as a value proposition to anti-Muslim markets, so they're not interested in our spirituality. Consumers lack awareness of halal products and services, including Muslims. And a global halal system is required to assist consumers and companies to make better choices. Now there are two views of halal. The first one is the Islamic view, which is basically that Allah is the owner of everything between the heaven and the earth. And He is the provider of all sustenance. So therefore He has given us a user's manual through the Quran and the Sunnah to understand how to use all His sustenance so we can achieve piety. So in terms of the global framework, we have referred to Islamic law from pretty much the first session. But if we take this view to extend it into a value chain, and the most extensive hadith that I have found about the value chain is the one recited by Anas radiallahu anhu, who says that Prophet Muhammad said that 10 people have been condemned regarding wine production, which basically covers the entire process of making wine, from the extractor to the person who actually profits from this. And as you can see from the hadith, there are 10 stages to this value chain. In business management, Michael Porter's value chain is used throughout pretty much every management book regarding what types, it doesn't matter what type of strategy, whether it's business strategy or marketing strategy. And as you can see, Porter's value chain covers only 6 stages. So if you look at the bottom chart, it starts with the raw materials of inbound resources, then it goes through the primary activities, which is operations, outbound logistics, marketing, sales, the service, and the margin, which is the profit. And so the support activities of a firm is you need infrastructure, human resource management, technology development, and procurement to support this function within an organisation. Doesn't matter what type of product or service you actually develop. So when we think of halal certification, we are only covering pretty much the first two activities starting from the raw product. So halal certification has not embedded itself into sales and marketing and service. So if we combine the two views into a holistic halal system, basically if we combine with Islamic law, with research and innovation, pretty much what we will end up with is halal, spiritual, physical and business activities. Because it could meet both requirements. But at the end of the day, so what? What does this mean? As a researcher, yes, we need to do a lot of research and we need a lot of information. But the thing is that what we are forgetting is the $3 trillion market out there that we only are probably collecting the crumbs of the pie and nothing else. Whereas large multinationals are eating the largest pieces of the pie. So unless we develop a system where we control the entire value chain, all the way from the source, the raw materials, to the consumer, we are only going to pick up the crumbs. So therefore, don't think of halal certification as only at the ingredient level. So we need to encompass the entire process of getting the product or the service to the consumer. So in other words, we need less talk and more action. So if we're going to develop a proposition for the consumer, and I'm talking the entire consumer population, not just Muslims, we need to develop faster and cheaper certification systems so companies don't see this as a burden or an extra cost for their supply chain or their value chain. We need to train professionals in the halal value chain, so it's not just at the raw material or the slaughtering phase. We need to promote halal globally through the internet and social media, because that is where everyone is going. And if we look at the younger generation, the entire world is based on digital technology. If we use the internet, we can gather and analyze halal trends. It's very easy these days with technology. We don't have to physically go out and give people physical surveys and take a year to collect the information. There are a lot of software tools out there, such as Google Analytics. We can get a lot of this information automatically. So the trends will show us where consumption is growing, where it is starting, and so automatically that we can interpret those trends into business opportunities. And through these opportunities, we can help the Muslim entrepreneur or the business to to develop a value proposition for all consumers. So therefore, we need to proactively seek opportunities to take a bigger piece of this $3 trillion pie. And if you think about it, the Muslim population today is under 2 billion, and by 2020 it's going to be 3 billion. This pie is going to grow to possibly $6 to $10 trillion. And that's only covering food and finance. So if we extend it to the value chain, it's going to grow significantly. So basically, the value proposition that we need to sell to everyone, because the Quran was not sent only to the Prophet Muhammad or the Arabs, it was sent to everyone. Because the Prophet Muhammad was also the prophet to the jinns, to all creation. So therefore, what we need to sell, what we need to propose to all consumers is to make them understand the value of halal. And that is, what we need to sell is a heavenly lifestyle, because that is what we're going to achieve out of this. So, if we tell people, and I'll give you examples of this, there are public schools in Australia who have converted their cafeteria menus to halal. So even Australians are accepting that halal tastes better. Because kebabs are becoming a very common fast food. So they actually say it tastes better. They don't know why, but they know it tastes better. Also, halal is healthier, and this is what we need to sell them. It's not the process, it's not the ingredients, it's why it's healthier. And also, we need to tell people that halal promotes spirituality, because the lack of spirituality, especially alcohol, it is the #1 killer of Western society today. It's the #1 drug problem in the Western world. There are children at the age of 12 who are walking around drunk. So if we actually promote this, we're not going to just speak to the Muslims, but there are a growing also group of people who are going away from the other religions and looking for new age things, such as yoga, etc. So in other words, we need to extend the halal propositions to everyone in this world. So I would like to finish this with one example, and that people don't know what halal means. They think it's an ingredient. So when they say halal, they think that it's something we add to our food to make it taste better. So in other words, we have a lot to do. So thank you for this opportunity, and salam alaikum.
Now, as a chair for this opportunity, 3 minutes. First, I offer to company from Russia to give comment about the halal standard. What is the important halal standard for the company? Yes, 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. We want to know from the company's perspective what is the important halal standard.
Halal standartın önemine geldiğimizde elbette biz 70 sene boyunca Sovyetler Birliği'nde kaldığımızda dinden uzak, dini meseleler bize unutulmuş, zorla uzaklaştırılmış ve o şekilde yaşamışız. Şu anda elbette yurt dışı ile ilişkiler mümkün, eğitim alma konusunda mümkün. Ama bir ülkenin kendi içinde mutlaka helale dayalı standartları olmalı. Yani zorunlu standartlar olmalı. Çünkü sadece ihtiyari olarak istiyorsam helal sertifikasını alırım ve helal damgasını koyarım. İstemiyorsam sertifika almam ama damgayı ve yazı yine yazarım. Bu şekilde olmaz. Çünkü bu şekilde kontrol olmaz. Tertip olmaz. Düzen olmaz. Bu yüzden bir devlette helal meselesine zorunlu bir şekilde standart olması, onun sertifikalandırması getirilirse o zaman kimse benim ürünüm helal, ben sadece istedim de yazdım diyemez. O zaman helal yazısını koymak, helal damgasını koymak isteyen herkes mutlak derecede zorunlu şekilde sertifikayı almak zorunda kalacak. Bu da elbette devletin kendi içinde
tertip getirecek, düzen getirecek. Ben kendi görüşmelerimde mesela Moskova'daki görüşmelerde de bakanlıklarda hep unutuyorum. Siz helali sadece Müslümanlar için görmeyin. Bu iktisadi bir yükseliş, iktisat açısından devletin daha üstlere, yukarılara gitmesi. Bu nüfusun %25, %30'unu oluşturan Müslümanların devlete karşı